Welcome to the FMCG Guys, the podcast that dives into the innovation, strategy, and trends shaping consumer goods and retail in Europe and beyond.
Welcome to a new episode of the FMCG Guys. I'm your host, Daniel Torres. If this is the first time you join us, we are here to speak with the top voices in the fast-moving consumer goods and retail industries. Remember that we are part of a family of podcasts led by the CPG guys. Yes, you heard it well, CPG, Consumer Packaged Goods. In that podcast, hosted by Peter, Shri, and Brian, you'll hear top voices around omni-channel commerce in the US. And they've been running for 4 years and have amassed no less than 29,000 LinkedIn followers. So highly recommended that you tune into that podcast as well. So today I'm accompanied by two top voices in the consumer goods industry. One of them is my co-host, Efrain Rosario, after putting up with me for 2 years. How are you? Still kicking?
Still kicking, Daniel. Good to be with you as always.
Great to see you. Great to see you. And the other rock star that we have here is no other than Eva Gallocchio, who's the Chief eCommerce, CRM and Customer Officer at the iconic Illycaffe. Hi, Eva. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good. Thanks. And pleasure to be here with you today.
Thanks for joining us. Where are you joining us from, actually?
I'm in Milan. It's a rainy Milan today. And looking forward to the Easter break at the end of the week.
Yes. Well, by the time this goes out, you will have had that relaxing break already and will have come back re-energized, hopefully. So, Eva, let's go right into it. So, obviously, now you're at Illycaffè, which is an iconic Italian coffee house. But you've done a lot in your career, a lot of years in retail and fashion. But you actually started as a consultant at Accenture. How did that happen? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, true. And, at the beginning of my path after the graduation, I was looking for an experience that would have introduced me to different business that have taught me different things. So really I wanted to explore. I decided to be part of Accenture because I was seeing it as a very big international corporation, an American corporation. And I thought this could have been good for me to see diverse project and industry, also learn a solid methodology and transferable skill. And 3, I also like the fact to be part of a meritocratic machine where to have the opportunity to develop and grow fast upon delivering strong performances.
So, Eva, as also a former Accenture employee, I can very much empathize and agree with what you just said in terms of like what the value that brings. I'm curious to now know what you then, after your time at Accenture, transitioned to retail, and I'm curious to understand what took you to the retail space after your time in consulting.
Yeah, that was an important decision for me. And I have to say, during my experience at Accenture, I had the pleasure to work for many retail companies like Carrefour and other Italian offline supermarket chain. And I really love the fact to be closer to the consumer, having the chance to work on projects related to consumer experience, retail processes. So I really fell in love with the possibility to get closer to the consumer, get true insight of what was influencing the decision of the consumer, and having the possibility then to impact those decisions, improving product and services. So truly I was intrigued by this dimension of being closer to the consumer. And when Diesel called me, I was also very intrigued from the opportunity to learn about retail in a company that have a very big footprint in retail and also in fashion.
Yeah, which Diesel is basically also a lot of iconic brands, Eva, an iconic Italian fashion house. I think that their stronghold is in denim, right?
Yes, absolutely. And this is, we will see, I mean, I'll be happy to talk about more later, but for me, The other thing that I learned is working for a brand that has a strong heritage is very important. And again, to transfer that message in the consumer experience. So I really like this part. Diesel is a company that is rooted in denim, has very strong heritage in denim in this product, and is very recognized for this product. And this is also the type of message that we wanted always to translate the company, the quality, the specific, the love for the treatment, the passion for the styling. So very important to transfer the values of the brand to the consumer to make that consumer fall in love with the brand.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting that you joined Diesel as a retail planner. So it's an analytical role, if you like, but it's a core retail apparel role. How come you joined in that role, not in a strategy role, which is a bit of the cliche when consultants join a business?
Yeah, you're right. But at that moment, as I mentioned, I was very intrigued by the opportunity to come into retail. So I used the door that I had at disposal at that time. And I was also happy to transition into a very iconic brand that had a retail footprint. But what the consulting experience taught me to access this role was really data analysis, the strategic planning, and also the problem solving. Even though I was doing a merchandising planning role, these three skills were very, very important to me. And I have to say, I was kind of a different person within this team, because coming from consulting, I was always trying to look to the holistic picture, always trying to push the boundaries to improve processes and to go into optimization. I give you an example. I was working into this replenishment project where basically we were seeing from the first analysis in a particular store, we were always in stock out of a style, no? And a lot of my colleagues were saying, well, we just have to increase the number of products that we send every week. And I was like, let's broaden a bit the picture. Let's see what is happening on the other SKU of that category. At the end, we learned that in the store we were having many products, too many probably, to guarantee replenishment, to guarantee well representation of those products. So thanks to this broader approach, at the end we decided to reduce the assortment, being more focused on some bestseller that would have also have bigger space in the store. So this is just an example, but again, this was all what consulting taught me, to really apply strategic planning to problem solving and always looking at the broader picture.
Yeah, and you did a lot of different roles in Diesel and to become later on the e-commerce director. But if you want to summarize it, how did you find that transition? Because that's a very key one in someone's career, from being part of a team, an individual contributor, if you like, to being like a leader, managing P&L.
Well, that I always look at that as the most important step in my career path. After 9 years of professional experience between consulting, retail, then e-commerce, I was promoted director of e-commerce. And this happened in North America. For me, this meant obviously get access to a leadership role. So a lot of things changed.
So your first leadership role was when they sent you to your expat in North America?
Yes.
Wow.
That's yes. That's a lot at one time, right? So if you think about it, it's like, new responsibility, but new environment, new setting, new culture to have to adapt to as well.
Yes, let's call it a jump. So a leadership role where basically you need to learn immediately how to develop financial acumen, strategic thinking, and last but not least, you need to learn strong communication skills to involve and motivate the team to accomplish a challenge together with you. So this for me was a very important moment in my career because, as you said, I went from being a key contributor to be fully responsible and accountable for the performance of an entire department. And that really move from, be part of something to be responsible of something. And for me, it was particularly important, not only for the business, but also for the responsibility of leading and growing a group of people and resources. So to your point, this happened also as a jump, because not only I was moving to a leadership role, but also I was moving to the United States. And this for me was another important challenge that taught me how important it is to adapt to a different market and to a different culture, because it's truly different. Americans, they always need to have a plan. They are less flexible. They need more structure. So there's a lot of things that you need to learn to really work well in the environment where you are, and to understand what success looks like in a different country.
And in your case as well, going from headquarter to business unit, which a business unit that's at the other side of the pond, that also brings a whole different dynamic, right?
Exactly. I was in a way out of my comfort zone, because in HQ I had all the connection with peers, with colleagues after several years in the headquarters, while in the market the pressure is higher, is different. So new team and new business pressure, plus the challenge that I took when I joined the United States was very peculiar. Not only I had to lead the e-commerce and, as you can imagine, deliver double-digit growth for the business, but it was also a very specific challenge to move that e-commerce business from being a silos to support an omni-channel culture and proposition in the market. And the United States were at the time one of the leading markets for developing an omnichannel strategy. So very interesting project. I really loved it, and it has been extremely important for my career.
Well, and I think, like you said, the transition from moving from headquarters, where you've been for a long time, to moving to that business unit role, you have to rebuild all that. You almost have to rebuild your brand, your personal brand in a way, and create trust and reputation with people you're working with at a business unit level as well. So that's, it's a very different game, or a different objective, if you will, than what you have in headquarters in a global role.
Yes, totally. That part of rebuilding the trust is the most delicate, because you need to get in contact with people. You need to show that you have that credibility. And again, for me, coming from Italy, where at that time e-commerce was not that developed, and be responsible of the e-commerce business in the United States, that is one of the most mature markets when it comes to digital, that was, the important piece for me to show that I could do it. No?
Yeah. And you also mentioned, Eva, something really interesting around that part of your remit in this role in the US was also to move from silo to omni-channel. And I'm curious, as somebody who's worked in retail for quite a long time with some of these very iconic brands, how have you seen that evolve over time? How have you seen retail evolve over your career?
Yes. Again, let's go back to the consumer. Retail evolved because the consumer evolved. The consumer behavior and expectation were completely changed with the digital transformation. Consumer became more aware, more sophisticated, more demanding, and they were looking for newness, personalization. And in general, I have to say what I noticed, they started to look for emotion. So this transformation from silos to omnichannel, again, was driven by them. A lot of companies understood that to be able to answer in an effective way to this new consumer behavior and sophisticated behavior was to have an omnichannel approach to communication and to trade and to service in order to really be where the consumer are. And if you have to be everywhere, in every touch point of the consumer, you better be consistent and try to deliver to them the same engaging message everywhere. So company had to start becoming more aligned in what was the proposition and the messages that they want to deliver to the consumer to really become more relevant to their life. So what I saw changing, I think a lot of changes, but let me mention a few for you. In order to tackle that emotional aspect, companies, especially in fashion, they started to build exclusivity and collaboration. So new collaboration, especially in fashion, between sportswear and luxury, you see a lot that create a buzz, that create a special moment for the consumer. Content change a lot. So we move from institutional campaign to true and real storytelling. Brands started to try to tell their story, not only to just communicate an annual campaign or seasonal campaign. And they started to explain consumer why they are special, how they build the product, where there is a component of craftsmanship, a component of creative or innovation. They started to explain the beauty and the value of the product. Third, I think we saw a complete shift in CRM. We moved from loyalty cards through really data collection, trying to collect consumer data and use this information then to personalize experience and personalize the way of communicating to consumer. Omnichannel we mentioned. And the last thing that I would like to mention to you is the awareness for sustainability. In a business like fashion, where there are a lot of concern with consumption and sustainability, I saw this topic becoming really, really relevant for the consumer, and companies really trying for the first time to take care of the full product life cycle, trying to think about project of upcycling, recycling, secondhand. So a lot of things that really changed the retail industry and the fashion industry since I joined.
It's interesting because you've said all these things that are now kind of a given, right? Like, data collection, using consumer data, these collaborations that everyone has got used to. But of course, you think about it in 2009, and all that didn't really exist. So this has been a good reminder of how things have changed, which sometimes with the day-to-day you don't realize, but I think it was very well summarized here. So after years in fashion, Eva, you join Illycaffe, which is a coffee company. Tell us a bit more about that and what your role is there and why you joined a coffee company.
Yes. So I joined the coffee company because, again, I came across this company during the interviews. As an Italian, I knew Illy. I always drink Illy coffee. So I used to be familiar with the brand. But when I was doing my interviews, I really discovered how fascinating, how beautiful, how innovative is this brand. And again, I felt in love exactly as it happened for me the first time with Diesel. So now in the coffee business, my current role is, as you mentioned at the beginning, I'm the chief e-commerce, CRM, B2C, and customer care. So I was coming from my e-commerce background and was happy to grab a wider scope, being able to take care of also of CRM, B2C, and customer care. And these made me closer to the consumer. And again, this passion that I have for consumer experience and consumer insight in general. In my current role, the mission that I have is to maximize e-commerce business and this might be a given. But at the same time, I have the ambitious goal to drive a step change in the consumer experience at Illycaffè for the digital channel, to make it engaging and distinctive, aligned to the super premium positioning that this brand have. And three, one of the ambition of this role is to foster the loyalty, but in this case, at omni-channel level. So it's a very complete challenge that allow me to continue to work both in the e-commerce D2C, direct to consumer. We have illy.com that we are working on. And by the way, we also launched the new site in the last week. So please go check it.
Okay. Well, we'll put it on the digital and the show notes so people can click into it for sure.
So I had the chance to continue to work in the D2C channel with our illy.com, but also on the e-tailer business. So we do see e-tailers like a place where we can engage and build a strong an audience. So we look more for new to brand consumer in the e-tailer, and then in the illy.com, our direct channel, we really want to welcome all the lovers of the product, so the loyal customer that really wants to experience the brand and know more about the brand. So there is this duality between the two channels, that each one has a role, and a very important role to continue us to build our omni-channel approach into the business.
So Eva, you kind of referenced there that your remit or your responsibility goes beyond e-com, right? So you really do have that full breadth in terms of the channel that you communicate and sell through, right? So in terms of like out of home, D2C, physical retail, is that all fall in some way, shape, or form under that remit of omni-channel experiences for you?
Yes, totally. Illycaffè is a true global company, an omni-channel company. Illycaffè is present in 147 countries, so really a global footprint. And a key pillar of the strategy is to be multi-market and multi-channel. It is really characterized by omni-channel footprint in order to cover all the consumer journey, from out-of-home consumption to home consumption. About out-of-home, we play through the HoReCa, so premium cafeteria, hotellerie, restaurant. And HoReCa is the most important channel for Illycaffè, is the one that played an historical role in the growth of the distribution of Illycaffè, and it also played a pivotal role for the omni-channel awareness of the company. In the out-of-home, we also have a minor presence in retail, to franchising and also direct-to-operated stores, and a presence that is still young in the office travel channel. So when we look at out-of-home, we really cover a wide spectrum, and this part, it's about 50% of our business. The other 50% is tackling the consumer in the home consumption. So we are present in e-commerce, as we mentioned before, the illy.com and the retailers, but also the offline supermarket distribution and the specialty stores and Eldom channel. So the distribution model is very powerful, and obviously it requires a lot of consistency in the customer experience in order to be able to maximize our success.
Yeah, it is really one of these brands that has really a lot of touch points with the consumer, no? So I guess that the digital side really helps be an umbrella of these, no? Like going out and seeing it in the cafe, or going home and seeing it at a home or in the supermarket. And then if you see it digitally as well, I guess that you create that whole link.
Well, and I imagine too, Eva, and you can speak to this much better than I can, the consistency in storytelling and how you're communicating and how you're showing up for consumers across those different channels, both on premise and off trade, is really, really powerful for a brand like Illy.
It is, and this is one of the key projects that we are working on, making sure that we are able to transfer the brand values and the quality of our coffee in every step of the journey. And as you can imagine, with such a wide footprint, that for the most part, it's also indirect, it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah. How from the time that you've spent at Illy for now, how are you finding it similar or different to your prior life in fashion?
That's a very interesting question. I thought a lot about that many times. So there are the things that surprise me the most is the consumer-centric approach. I mean, in fashion, companies start to claim that they are consumer-centric. And this was also part of my journey at Diesel, build a consumer-centric approach. But when we talk about, let's talk for a moment for premium luxury environment, no? The fashion is a lot characterized from a self-referential approach. Creative directors in fashion have a strong role in determining the new product, the collection, as well as to intervene in the communication and how we should communicate. And sometimes this strength of the creative directors get a bit, create some gap between the consumer needs or the consumer design and you know, in the end results. But this is part of the game because fashion always wants to, you know, create new trend, wants to be ahead of time. So this is the most interesting thing. I noticed that many times merchandising team and marketing team were not always able and capable to build solid bridges between consumer needs and creative director needs. So those was, this is what I noticed, because instead here in FMCG, I'm finding the consumer-centric approach real on a 360-degree base. From product development to communication, there is a very rational approach, very structured and strong approach. You start from market study, you understand what are the pain points and the question that you have to answer, then you go into product development, you test. So there are many stages of the process where you really try to drive your decision in a consumer-centric way, rather in fashion where, yes, there has been a lot of evolution towards a consumer-centric approach, but still I think that gap will never be merged, and probably this is how it should be, right? Yeah.
Yeah, as well, because you need that creativity there. That in FMCG, yes, you can be creative, but it's more the marketing part, not the product side, no? Sorry, Efrain, were you going to say something?
No. I was just jotting down some notes because I do think that there is the power of a role like yours in being able to create that bridge between marketing and commercial, or as you said, creative and merchandising, is something that can be quite unique in a company, right? So it's critically important because if those two teams aren't necessarily in sync with one another, you know, the best creative in the world, if it's not executed properly, will not have the desired impact.
That's exactly the point. And it's very important to balance those two forces, you know, to let the creative being creative and innovative and, you know, introduce new style and new trends, but at the same time, protect, if you allow me to use this word, protect the pieces and the products that are anyway successful into the market. Also because there is a factor of timing by when all the consumers follow a trend that you need to consider. So if you launch something new, it doesn't immediately get accepted or well received from consumers, especially in fashion. It takes a bit of time sometimes. So yes, exactly. There are these specific aspects that make fashion extremely fascinating and in some way with a lot of freedom, and it's very difficult sometimes to create boundaries when you talk about rules and best practices. There is always a freedom and a different way of execution.
Yeah, absolutely. So bringing it back to your current role, to your current company, Illy, I'm curious to hear, you've been there a little over a year now. Are there any exciting projects that you've gotten to work on that you can tell us about?
Yeah, first of all, when I got in touch with Illy, for me the most exciting thing was the brand and the brand values. As I mentioned, even knowing Illy as a consumer, as an Italian, I wasn't that into the company and how much the company put passion and attention to quality perfection. The vision of Illy is to offer the greatest coffee that nature can provide. So this is the dream of our founder, and this dream, has been consistently taken through 90 years through a lot of control for quality to create a superior quality and guarantee superior quality in every preparation, in every product. And the other important thing of Illy as a company is that this quality is pursued by it has always been pursued through sustainability. So this for Illy is really important. And I give you an example. Illy has always worked hands in hands with the best-in-class Arabica growers, teaching them how to operate in a sustainable way. And one of the latest result of this way of operating is a product that we launched last year. This product is coming from 100% regenerative agriculture. And this is something, that only Illy has now in the market, 100% coming from regenerative agriculture, certified by Region Agri Institute. So sustainability for me at Illy is a very exciting project, something that belongs to Illy since always, and where we have a true roadmap of commitment that we are working on and delivering. So this is very important. The second thing I think is innovation. Illy, it has always also been known for being a pioneer in innovation. I can mention 3 historical innovations that Illy made. One was the predecessor of the espresso machine. The second one was the coffee pressurization, so that important technique that allow the coffee to stay, to preserve the aroma, and so to be also transported around the world, if you think. And third, in terms of innovation, historical innovation, Illy was also the first company that created the portion ease system. So Illy historically was new to be pioneer in innovation, and this is continuing. I keep seeing this. We have a very interesting roadmap of innovation this year. The first one was unveiled in January, is the new Illetta machine, so a machine for the bars. It's called the new smart coffee machine, that on top of being designed by the very famous designer Antonio Citterio, it's a machine that allow the quality of our coffee to be consistent regardless of who is preparing your coffee. So it's trying to eliminate the human error in order to continue to guarantee the maximum quality level. This machine is also bringing some newness in energy consumption. It consumes about half the energy, and it can also be pushed through personalization, recipe personalization. So very, very interesting thing happening in innovation for Illy, and there are more coming to life later this year.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be looking at what happens there.
Yes.
And Eva, we have this one question we ask all our guests that visit the FMCG guys, which is, you've shared your career journey, and I'm sure you've shared a lot of learnings, and I'm sure there's been even more. If you went back to your younger self at the beginning of your career and you could just give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, allow me 3. stay curious is the first one. And stay curious for me means be open to learn. This helped me a lot, especially at the beginning in Accenture, to discover new business and many skills, getting many skills. Second, be adaptable, especially in the digital landscape. You must continue to adapt to the change, to innovation, to what is happening. Think about now AI, okay? And three, stay true to your values. This helps you in always, feel motivated and committed to what you are doing. So these three pieces of advice.
Yeah, the last one is a big one, right? And I think that it also takes, as you mature in your career and as a person, and you get to know yourself better, you also get more familiarized with what your true values actually really are. So Eva, thanks a lot. And Efrain and I will try to summarize everything, all the nuggets that you've given us. We'll try to summarize them. So we'll try to do our best. Efrain, let's go to the takeaways. What are your key takeaways?
So there's a lot to unpack in this conversation. So Eva, thank you again for sharing with us some of those learnings from your career. I think for one thing that really stuck out to me was when you were talking about some of the evolution you've seen in retail over your career, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said retail evolved because the consumer evolved, and I think it really speaks to this point of being consumer led and not. Obviously, there's a bit of a balance there because we always want to think that, if we bring new innovation to the market, then we can obviously impact or influence consumer behavior. But we have to remember at the same time that a lot of the things that we're doing is in response to some inherent need or underlying need from consumers as well. So I thought that was really, really powerful when you talked about that.
And the consumer, talking now, the consumer being more aware, sophisticated, and demanding, specifically in terms of how they've changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, the other thing that stuck out was when you talked about, again, the opportunity that people in omni-channel roles or in, let's call them activation type roles, whether that be e-commerce, whether that be on the physical retail side, the opportunity that those roles have and the individuals in those roles have to be able to build bridges between marketing and commercial, and really kind of striking the right balance to be able to deliver the magic that makes the brand come to life is something that I can relate to a lot, and I was inspired to hear you articulate it the way that you did.
Yeah, for me there were two parts of the conversation that I really enjoyed. That I enjoyed the most, let's say. One was like when we talked about like the change in retail since you started in 2009, and I made the point then, but like there's so many things that we've got used to, but that are relatively quite new. So that's a good one to go back to and re-listen to. And I really like the reflection that you had. I thought it was really like articulate and specific around going from apparel to FMCG. Right, around like being FMCG, the more consumer-centric, data-driven, and fashion, the more inwards in some way, but in a good way, because that's what you need to be creative and at another level. So I thought that these things were very good. And also the fact that you've worked... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if I could add just one thing, because I think they are both Illy consumers and fans. So I really loved hearing you share the vision of the greatest coffee nature can provide. That's something that was new for me. So it's fascinating as somebody who's a fan of the brand to hear about that legacy and that history. And I'm really excited to see if I can go find that work when I can find that the new machine in a bar, hopefully near me soon.
So Eva, thanks so much. I think I hope we summarized the conversation well enough.
Yeah, sure. Thanks to you guys. It was really a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, thanks to all our listeners as well. Remember to follow us on LinkedIn. And if you enjoyed this conversation and others you've listened to, it would be great if you could leave us a review. Thanks for tuning in again, and have a great day.